All right. Well, number one, we're really excited to get started. We had a really good winter. I think the competition, the work ethic, being able to get back in the weight room and use squat racks and all the things that we missed out of. I think our strength gains were good. I think pushing back 2 weeks was a real benefit to us and the competitiveness that our guys went through, the things that we ask them as far as the conditioning and the 7-on-7 and all those things and what they did in the weight room and getting done with phase one, and now we get to get out on the field with phase two and start playing football.
We'll open up for questions now. So we'll start with Paul.
Hey, Coach, last year at this time you were talking about acclimating the players with the new coaching staff, some of the verbiage on offense. Being a year ahead in that, how does that change your approach to spring ball?
Well, I think it doesn't matter where you're at, and I learned a hard lesson in 1998 when we had won the national championship at Michigan in '97. Had 3 out of the 4 starters back on the defensive line, and I think the one thing I did poorly, and I learned from it, is I assumed those guys knew the expectations and the standards. And I had 3 guys who were all redshirt sophomores who started on a national championship team, and I really didn't do a good enough job as a coach. We lose our first 2, and we end up winning 10 in a row, but it really, I learned a lesson from it. So to answer your question, you always go back to the fundamentals and the bases of how we want to play and making sure everyone understands, those standards and those expectations as a football team.
Kind of related to that, you have, I think, 10 seniors from last year's team who came back, including the team captain. How have you seen their impact on the team so far this year?
I think that whole group, we have 10 of them, but within our leadership group that we have, there's, I think, 26 guys that are in there. And I think, having guys who have shown it on the field, shown it in the winter conditioning, how they've gone out and really competed, I think has been something that's been a great example for our football team.
The last one for me, could you just give us an update on the health of the team and anybody who may not be participating fully in spring yet?
Yeah, the only one right now off the top of my head, and we'll meet with our training staff tomorrow, but really is Rashad Scott. He's still rehabbing, still coming back. Everybody else seems to be doing a good job. As we all know, the pandemic and COVID's still around, and we've got to do the best job we can. I thought last year's team did a great job. So there's contact tracing. I don't understand what that is, to be honest with you, but that's always out there. So I think our trainers, our doctors, Libby, who's in health services here on campus, have done a great job with all our sports, but I really think they've done a great job. So we got protocols that we're keeping everybody safe and healthy.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
Thanks, Paul. Let's go to Lee.
Hey, Brady, can you talk about the difference in style now that you've seen Lucas Johnson, and how different is he from Maiden, the Mississippi State transfer?
Hacksaw, I can tell you this. I have seen a tremendous competitor with all those guys. Those 3 quarterbacks that with Brookshire, Lucas, and with Jalen Maiden, they have all been great competitors in everything that we've done. And really excited to see this competition unfold during the spring. They've all earned that opportunity. And so we're real excited about what they all bring to the table.
Where does Johnson have to make the next step, and what do you see in Maiden?
What I see in Jalen is a guy who's got some experience. You can tell he's a little bit older. He's very athletic, and I would say he's a bigger athlete, because he's a pretty thick guy. The ball comes off his hand really well. I think, like most guys who are new to a program, part of what he has to work through is the offense itself. And getting back to terminology and how we have the standards and expectations. But I think all three of them, we're in a good place with them. Now it's our job to go through spring, see them compete, and then go from there.
And to follow up on the quarterbacks that left, were you able to help Baker or Salazar transfer, and where did they wind up?
You know what? That's a good question because I think one's still working. The other one, I cannot remember Hacksaw right now. I know Jeff has made some calls, Jeff Hecklinski, with some people. So we'll see.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Lee. Let's go to Kirk.
Hey, Brady, I think it's been a couple years since Maiden played in a game. How much more of a challenge does that make it to try and win a job when you haven't really been out there?
I think the way that we'll practice, I mean, our quarterbacks are going to be live. We've got that's the only way you learn how to play, and so there'll be segments during practice during the week that, when we're going full contact all the way through, the quarterbacks will be in the same drills, and they'll be live like everybody else.
Also, by the end of the spring, would you hope to have identified your starter, or do you think it'll go in through the summer and fall?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I would hope to. A little bit I put on them to see how they compete and how they go about their business. But Kirk, I think that's something that I'm excited to see, and whether we get there or not, we'll let you know.
Before Lucas got hurt, it looked like he was the guy. Would he be a little bit above the other two at this time, or is it kind of anybody's to win?
Repeat that one time, please.
Lucas, before he got hurt, had looked like he moved into the starter's
Yeah.
role.
I got you. Yeah.
A little bit ahead of the others?
If Jordan wouldn't have done some really good things I thought he did late in the season, I would say that may have been true. But the thing I do know, and I said it from the beginning, they realize the competition that they're in, and they've really done a good job when you take it from the weight room, the meetings, all those things that we evaluate them on, the walkthroughs we've had. So we're excited about what we'll see.
In spring, what else are you really hoping to accomplish or identify? Is the secondary the next thing that you'd really be focusing on?
That's a good point. And yeah, I think when you look at, I think there's 8 starters back defensively, obviously with Tariq and DJ, graduating and leaving, and then Darren Hall. Darren Hall is had a really good pro day here last week, and so we've got to replace 3 pretty good football players, liking the direction we're going, and again, we'll have great competition there.
Are there any leaders in the clubhouse as far as who those replacements might be?
I would say not yet. I think the only one I would, I think Pat McMorris is a guy that's really stood out. He started the Nevada game when DJ couldn't, and really thought he did a nice job then, and then has continued to work hard.
Then one other thing, now that we're going to get into April with practice, it looks like they're going to start maybe letting some fans in for some campus events. Do you think by the end, when you have the spring game, that would be a thing that fans might be able to go to?
I would hope so. I hope. I know that we're still, we won't have anybody out at practice. That's not my decision as much as it is over on campus. But once we do, hopefully we can get you guys out there.
Thank you.
Kirk, you don't want to come out, do you?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I just want to write that down. I want to make sure.
All right.
Thanks, Kirk. Let's go to John.
Hey, Brady, good to see you. I wanted to ask you about Greg Bell and how excited are you for him to come back, fully healthy here for 2021, hopefully.
Yeah, there's no question. We're really excited. I like that room. I like what Jeff Horton has built. I like the way his guys practice. I like everything they do. And the one thing I really appreciated about Greg is when he told me he was coming back, he said, I'm going to come back because I want to win a championship for San Diego. And so, that tells you about how he feels about his hometown and how he feels about being an Aztec.
And then what have been your impressions over at the new Aztec Stadium site? I know you're over there at some point this winter or spring. What do you see popping up, and what is this going to mean for your program?
Well, I think it is, in my opinion, a little bit of a game changer in recruiting. I think that what I've seen, and John, believe me, I'm looking forward maybe in the next 2 weeks going over again, just to keep looking at the movement that they've made and everything that's gone up. So I think it means an awful lot. I think it will be a great place for Aztecs and Aztec Nation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, John. Let's go to Paul.
Coach, could you also give us an update on the offensive line and replacing Camper and Spalding there?
Yeah, the one good thing, well, there's a lot of good things. Don't get me wrong, but having Dom Gandino back, I think is really special. Having Zach Thomas back, and I can't tell you how much I've appreciated both those guys a year ago in their leadership. And I wish a couple of those other guys would have hung around. But, they make decisions that they feel are best for them, and I get it. And I've been doing this a long time. But I like, Alma and Martinez, their contributions a year ago, having that opportunity to gain that experience. I think, Paul, is really important. And I think at the same time, we're going to have a great competition. Des Bazette, Crenshaw Dixon, Jonathan Harrison, Joey Wright, Young Capra. I think all those guys are going to help us become a better football team.
And then with Thomas coming back, is there a chance that he could swing to the opposite side and play blindside, or Maiden is the quarterback, stay there and cover the blind side on that side?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt. I think as we've gone through some walkthroughs, as we've gone through some individual drills, I really think Zach can do both. I think, we will miss Mike Schmidt, obviously, but Mike Goff has done a tremendous job, and have a lot of respect for Mike over the years. He kind of volunteered for us in 2010 when I was here. Mike and I've got to know each other because of a young man named Glenn Steele, who I coached at Michigan, and they played together at the Bengals, and best friends. And that's how really I got to know Mike initially, and then just watching what he's done and how he's grown.
Thank you, Coach.
You got it.
Thank you. Back to Kirk.
Brady, can you talk a little bit more about Mike Goff? And it seems like probably a lot of offensive line coaches in college came up the ranks as a college coach. How is his approach maybe different coming from the NFL route more so?
Yeah, I think this, I think there's really good coaches in the NFL. I think there's really bad coaches in the NFL. I think there's really good coaches in college football. I think there's really bad coaches in college football. And to have the experience of 12 years and being coached by different guys, at Mike, and I'm talking about Mike, obviously, different offensive line coaches, different systems. And then, when he went to college, went to USC for 4 years and then going to Western Kentucky. The one thing that, even though Mike and I knew each other, had a friendship, we looked at Western Kentucky. We watched their offensive line. And there wasn't any doubt in our minds that that was the best part of their offense, was how their offensive line played. So I'm really excited about Mike being here. I think he does have a perspective that some of us, but, I know Lee played in the NFL for a number of years, but, some of us hadn't had that opportunity, and I think that's a different experience.
What's his style like? Is it real vocal, or how would you say it contrasts maybe with Mike Schmidt?
I would say this. I think, I've been around coaches who are pretty aggressive, and I've been around coaches who are a little bit more laid back. I would say he's somewhere in the middle. I think he does a nice job of teaching and communicating. And, if there's a guy who's got a problem and needs to be disciplined a little bit, he's going to do that also.
All right. And then I wanted to ask you about if you could reflect a little bit on last year. You guys only got, I think, 6 practices in the spring.
Yeah.
In hindsight, how much of a setback was that, especially maybe offensively, or what was the thing that hurt you the most in not being able to have a full spring?
It would probably, Kirk, and I think that's really good. I think offensively as much as anything. I think, going through the quarterback battles in that competition, I think, like someone mentioned, the terminology and learning a new language offensively, where defensively, because of myself and Meach, Demetrius Sumler and Jordan Thomas, I think, and really Coach Maddox and everything he has over the last 10 years looking at this defense, I think it was probably a little bit smoother transition. I think that helped from a defensive standpoint. I think the one thing, Kirk, that really, I don't know, people realize, you lose so much development in your weight room, your young players. The older guys know, how to run a pinch move or whatever it might be, or the proper stance for a safety or a corner, or offensively, if we're going to Lucy or whatever for pass protection up front. I think those young guys missed a whole lot of development. Then when you're not allowed to use your weight room and you have to be outside, the strength development. And look, our strength coaches and trainers and our coaches did a great job of fighting through some obstacles. And I don't like calling them obstacles, but there's no doubt that some of it is. But they're protocols for health and safety. And so I thought as a university, we have done a tremendous job compared to some other places across this country.
Will this look like a much more normal spring, or how much of those protocols are still the same as they were like last summer?
Yeah, really, we started back to where we ended in the fall. So it will look more and feel a lot more like football.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks, Kirk. We'll go back to Lee.
Brady, about protocols, how many times do your kids get tested each week? And also, how many kids are you allowed to have in spring football right now?
Okay. Second question is, we'll have 98, I believe, on the roster. We are getting tested. Our players were getting two times a week, And now starting this week, it's 3 times a week.
And a follow-up question, how many of your seniors cashed in to use this extra year of eligibility that the NCAA offered? Do you have a number?
I can get that for you, Lee. I'll be honest with you. It's probably, I would say, somewhere between 6 and 8.
Okay,
But Lee, I can get you an exact figure on that.
it's okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Lee. Back to Kirk.
Hey Brady, I think in the next couple of weeks they're going to start letting pretty much everybody get a vaccine. Will you kind of encourage your whole team to do that, or how will that work out for you guys?
Yeah, we will encourage them. You know, we want to make sure they're educated and they educate themselves, and we want to help that. You know, I know that everybody has a different opinion about the vaccine. Some of them are deep rooted, and I get that. Some parents don't believe in it, but you know, I hope that we'll educate them. They'll educate each other, and hopefully we'll all, you know, get the vaccine. Excuse me.
Are you planning to get it pretty quickly here in the rest of the coaching staff? Or what is that
Most of us we've had it, so
Thanks.
I'm a lot older than you, Kirk, so I'm allowed to get it.
All right, that's good.